Who wants to talk about misleading ads? I do. I know it's not even campaign season, but you know what? The ads are running, so let's dig in and make that one about President Biden our big story tonight. If you've been watching KGW over the past few weeks, you've probably noticed some new political ads airing during our commercial breaks. It's not election season, at least not for any big elections, but that doesn't mean we get a break from those political ads. This one accuses President Biden of slashing Medicare Advantage benefits, while Washington Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez is silent on the matter. That's the accusation. During the election season last fall, we took a look at a lot of political ads that you were seeing to find out how truthful they were, and a lot of you said, hey, keep doing that. Well, here's one of the several messages that came out over the past few weeks about this ad. This one comes from Vicky. She wrote, "What is the story behind the ads about Biden cutting Medicare by $300 billion? I don't think that's true, but what can you tell me about these inflammatory ads and the company?" Great questions, Vicky. Let's break this ad down piece by piece. First, who made it? Well, it's a group called the American Action Network. They spent $2 million to launch this ad and similar ads in 13 other congressional districts. They call themselves an action tank. Get it? Sort of like a think tank, but they do stuff besides think. They say they promote center-right policies based on freedom, limited government, American exceptionalism, and strong national security. They do this through a nationwide campaign, print and TV ads like the one we're fact-checking, along with mail, robocalls, and online videos. They are not affiliated with any specific candidate. American Action Network was founded in 2010 by Fred Malek and Norm Coleman. Malek was a businessman and political advisor. He worked on every Republican campaign for president of the last 40 years. However, he did not work on Donald Trump's campaign. Coleman is a lobbyist and an attorney and was once a senator from Minnesota. The current president of the group is Dan Constan. He's well known for his work in political ad strategy, and he's the president of the Congressional Leadership Fund, which works to elect Republicans to the House. All right, let's get to the ad.
How did D.C. liberals fund $200 billion for IRS and Green New Deal pet projects? By raiding our Medicare.
That would be outrageous, wouldn't it? And that would be wrong, by the way. They're talking about the increase for IRS funding and other projects under the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last August. The law did grant an additional $79.6 billion in funding to the IRS and more to other clean energy projects, but it did not fund that by raiding Medicare, as the ad claims. That is false. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget took a look at the new law. They're an independent nonprofit that analyzes policy. They say the money came from savings that were part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The Congressional Budget Office's report on the law says the main contributors to that decrease were pricing reforms for prescription drugs, which the CBO estimates will reduce prescription drug spending in Medicare Part D and Medicare Part B. The CBO mentions that the government's savings would be offset by increased spending on the IRS and clean energy projects. So there you go. Savings in one area allowed spending in the other. But saying that Medicare was raided is a bit of a leap. To simplify, it's a bit like if you figure out a way to save money on one part of your budget. Maybe you find a cheaper place to buy gas or groceries. Well, that frees up money to be spent somewhere else, but you didn't lose any gas or groceries. You just got them cheaper. Next.
Now President Biden's proposing massive Medicare Advantage cuts to seniors.
This headline comes from the Washington Examiner. They're an online-only conservative news outlet. If you go to the article quoted in the ad, you can see it's not even a news article. It's clearly marked as opinion. The article actually argues in favor of cutting costs to Medicare as a whole without cuts to Medicare Advantage benefits, which is sometimes called Medicare Part C. Those are plans offered by private insurance companies rather than the government. The author is Ryan Ellis. And Ryan writes, Medicare Advantage is not the place where we should be looking to save pennies on the dollar within Medicare. Rather, it should be the model toward which the rest of Medicare should be moving, with some additional reforms that will prevent program collapse or massive tax increases. The ad claims Biden wants to make cuts to Medicare Advantage benefits.
That could slash over $500 in benefits per retiree, while Biden breaks his promise to 30 million seniors who chose Medicare Advantage.
Well, turns out that's not true at all. Remember how Medicare Advantage plans come from private insurance companies? The Biden administration wants to change how those companies are paid, but they're not requiring any cuts to benefits. There are two rule changes being proposed. The first is the government would be allowed to recover money from times they've overpaid those companies in the past. It's a bunch of money, $4.7 billion over 10 years. Several studies and federal government audits have shown that private insurance companies have often overbilled billions to the government for Medicare Advantage plans. They do that by attaching as many diagnostic codes as possible to their patients' records to harvest bonus payments, diagnoses that don't necessarily need to be included. The second rule change is an update to the way insurance companies will be paid by the government. It would reduce some payments to insurers, but the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, well, they estimate that the overall effect of the changes would actually end up increasing total payments to the companies by about 1%. But some opponents say that the insurance companies would just pass the price changes on to customers and that people on Medicare Advantage plans could end up paying more that way. But that would be the choice of the insurance companies on their own. It would not be a requirement. Now, some major insurance companies have been very outspoken against the changes. Lastly,
Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez is silent.
so we asked Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez about it, and no, she wasn't quite silent at all. Her campaign staff told us the ad is a lie, paid for by big drug companies who know Marie is going to hold them accountable for the outrageous prices they charge Southwest Washington seniors. Marie rejects contributions from corporate PACs and cannot be bullied by desperate, misleading attacks like these. Now, that brings us to our next viewer question. We get this one a lot around here, especially around election season. Carol wanted to know, why does KGW take ads that state falsehoods? While it's definitely an ad, it still promotes a lie. Is there a requirement that ads must be factually supportable? Great question, Carol. And the rest of you who are wondering, the short answer is sadly no. Political ads are not required to be factual. The law allows politicians to say almost anything they want in a commercial. That's because political ads are regulated by the FCC, which applies just two rules. One is that all the candidates have to have the same opportunity to buy commercial time on the TV stations. And two is that politicians can say pretty much whatever they want. TV stations are not allowed to censor a political ad. This is different than the rules for consumers, by the way. Consumer ads, those are the ones that sell you the products, well, they do have to be truthful. But political ads, totally different. They can say whatever they want. And the FCC generally does not ensure the accuracy of the statements in those political ads. And if you're wondering why this ad is airing now when it's not election season, well, there's an article in the New York Times that we think is worth your time. It explains how the Biden administration has been working to cut Medicare fraud and how it's set off a frenzy of lobbying from insurance companies, lobbyists, and political action committees. Biden's proposed rule changes to Medicare are set to start taking effect the first week of April. So those groups are ramping up their efforts right now to get the message out and try and fight back against them. It also explains why many members of Congress are not stepping forward to defend private insurance companies. You can read the article now. Biden plan to cut billions in Medicare fraud ignites lobbying frenzy. It's on the New York Times, and we'll put a link on our social media.